Finest Hours stars Chris Pine and Casey Affleck. It is basically like a true story movie where there's a bunch of people on this ship thing, and it's like a big ship and stuff is happening on it, and then it's slowly sinking for taking like 5 hours to sink, and they sort of have to prevent the sinking while this happens, and Chris Pine, who's this Coast Guard guy, has to go on this small boat and find them out in the dark. And this is a true story and it actually happened and all this stuff was a thing. And yeah. So going into this movie, I didn't know what to expect, because for this movie, I was looking forward to it. I was hoping it could actually be something special in the month of January. And Chris Pine is a really good actor, even though I've never loved anything he's been in besides the Star Trek movies. Even though he was in Into the Woods, and while I don't think that's a great movie, it did introduce me to Anna Kendrick, and she kind of enhanced my puberty a little bit. But I've never really loved anything else he's been in besides Star Trek, so I was hoping that this could be like the next Chris Pine movie that I actually loved. And is it that? Not really. I think this is just an okay movie. It's decent. I don't think it's a great movie. I just think it's a decent true story movie that you can maybe have a good time with. And even though I mainly mentioned Chris Pine and he's in all the marketing and he's basically the person that's always shown as the main character, I think really this is Casey Affleck's movie. Casey Affleck was easily my favorite part of this movie. I thought he did a great job. He's basically on that huge boat during this whole movie, and he's trying to, I guess, try to do a bunch of things to the boat that'll help him survive for 5 hours before Chris Pine comes and helps them. Casey Affleck was easily my favorite part of this movie. I think he's a good actor. Chris Pine also did a great job. I actually cared about his character, and he pulled off a pretty good Boston accent. I've never really seen Chris Pine do that before. So as for this movie, I think the climax is mainly the best part. Like the second hour of the movie was where I was actually really invested, and I thought it was actually some pretty suspenseful stuff, because I wanted Chris Pine and Casey Affleck to survive in this movie, even though they're like in separate areas the whole time. I really liked both of them, and I cared about what they were going through, and the suspense came from when they were in trouble, and I wanted them to get out of the problems they were in. But I only really mentioned Chris Pine and Casey Affleck because they're the only characters I really liked that much in this movie. There's way too many characters in the movie. There's like a cook, there's like 3 other guys that are with Chris Pine on this small boat. There's also a guy that looks a lot like William Shatner. They try to make this character interesting, and it did not work. They weren't fleshed out. There's way too many of them. So when anything bad happened to these characters, I was just like, who cares? But that being said, the visual effects look really good in this movie. The sea looks very realistic. I completely bought it. And there are really good sequences in this movie where Chris Pine and his gang are trying to like find the big boat, and there's waves crashing over them. I thought that part of the movie was really good. But all the good things are in the second half, because the first half, to me, I was nearly falling asleep. I mean, this movie has so much setup to what we actually came to see in the first hour, and it's so boring. Like, I was literally yawning really a lot in the first half because I was struggling to stay awake. It's really boring, the whole setups and thing. I was really struggling to stay awake, and I was like, this isn't a very good movie. But like I said, when the second half kicks in, I actually enjoyed that. And I did think the romance was handled pretty well in this movie, but my only problem with it is in the second half, which I said was actually interesting, they kept going between this whole thing where Chris Pine's girlfriend gets like her car crashed in some snow and she has to get a tow, and it's like, why is any of this necessary? It just really, in the second hour, I really enjoyed the water stuff, and when they kept going back to Chris Pine's girlfriend, well, she's good in the movie, she's a good actress, but her side of the story, that was not interesting to me in the slightest, and it halted the movie really badly. So guys, there's not really much else to say about this movie. I think it's just an okay, decent movie. It's not anything great. I mean, if you're bored at one time and you feel like seeing a movie that isn't Star Wars or Kung Fu Panda 3, then I guess you could watch Finest Hours. I do like the movie. I think it's decent, but I don't think it's great in the slightest. So I'm gonna give The Finest Hours a B-. I just think it's an okay movie. So if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter and Instagram and everything I say in every video ever. And next weekend, Hail Caesar comes out! Yay, I'm really looking forward to that one. I have no idea what that was, but Hail Caesar, it looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it, and I will definitely be seeing it next weekend, so hooray! Bye-bye now.